Hello everybody, my name is Cody Bray, bringing us yet another video, and in the second video of the day, we're going over a bit more of the Cleric. I know, all of this was supposed to be out in one day last week, but I really didn't have, I barely had enough time to record that first video of the Cleric. I definitely probably could have gotten a bit more in, and then I kind of ran out of time on Saturday, so I could only get one video out, and then Sunday, I didn't really have any time. Monday, I didn't have much time on Sunday because I immediately had to go. I had a COVID thing. They had to check to see if I had COVID super early in the morning, so I had to drive there almost immediately after work. And then I was just at my parents' all day basically, and then I got home and was schlomp, so I just went to bed. Monday, I probably could have and should have recorded the D&D stuff then, but I didn't. I believe I did Pokemon though. And then next day was my birthday, so I did a little bit of stuff. I did record something on my birthday, and then uh, I went to celebrate my birthday. And then Wednesday I had the upper endoscopy, and then so I couldn't do anything on Wednesday. Thursday, it was still a little bit out, but I was able to record a video then, I think, and then I was able to get the video out today. So now we're gonna be going over more of the Cleric with however much is actually left. I'm actually going to put Arcana here because technically there is no Arcana, so potentially, depending on how fast I can do all of this, I might actually be able to get the rest of the Cleric all in this one video. If you don't remember last week, what I had gone over was the Cleric, was the path, right now, domains. I had the domain of Grave, the Forge domain, the Death, Order, and Knowledge domain. I believe there's one that is in here that is not there, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see. So I did Death. Death is here. After Death, so Order, so Forge and Order. Forge and Order. Grave and Knowledge. I did those. And I didn't do Life. Okay, so Arcana. Oh, okay, there's way more here than there is, because there's 6 left here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 left. So I will do maybe speed run everything. Let's see how much I can get done here by going really fast. So we start off with the Life Domain. Life Domain will immediately give you the benefit of being able to wear heavy armor at first level, the bonus proficiency. Disciple of Life. Also, starting at first level, your healing spells are more effective. Whenever you use a spell of first level or higher to restore hit points to a creature, the creature gains an additional 2 hit points equal to 2 plus the spell's level. So, this is a pretty good thing kind of early on, because, sorry, a little, runny nose there. So, this is especially helpful on earlier on levels. This one, unless, I mean, this number gets to a higher degree, this 2 right here, gets to a higher degree, you're not going to be casting a healing spell at 9th level. I mean, there's 9th level healing spells, but you wouldn't cast Healing Word at 9th level. But at earlier levels, and in between fights, of course, this is extremely helpful, because then you can basically use your healing spell, and then that immediately heals, the little bit of healing word or healing touch of your D8 plus wisdom. So you can go to if you roll a 1 plus a wisdom of 4, so that's 5, and then you get 7, 8, so it's automatically 8 hit points at minimum, and at max it's, what, I think 12, no, at max it's 15, pretty decent size just for being super low level. That would basically full heal majority of characters earlier on. So this one is definitely actually pretty helpful, and it's also not just one one creature is affected. So if you did mass healing word or something, all of them would gain the bonus. Your channel divinity for this one is preserve life. As an action, you present your holy symbol and evoke healing energy, the energy that can restore a number of hit points equal to 5 times your cleric level. So once you get this, you can heal 10 hit points. At max level, you can heal 100 hit points, which is, wow. Choose any creatures within 30 feet of you and divide those hit points among them. 100 hit points worth of healing you can give to your team is that's pretty impressive. This feature can restore a creature to no more than half of its hit point maximum, and you can't use this feature on undead or constructs. That's extremely powerful. Right off the bat, you'll have 10 hit points that you can give to your team, and then at max level, that'll be 100 hit points that you can be dishing out to your team. So it is certainly a very potent channel divinity, and definitely something that would recommend being able to use inside and outside of combat, because if you need to do, potentially you can do a burst healing of high healing stuff to a couple of people, or outside of combat you can use this and heal a little bit of your team by, you have a party of 5 people, well, you can heal everybody 20 hit points as long as they don't go above max HP. So it's actually pretty good. Let's see, at 6th level you get Blessed Heal. Let me pull this up to make sure that yeah, it does not have any domain spells down here, which is, if you have a domain spell that doesn't appear on the cleric, okay. Yeah, it's odd that it doesn't seem like maybe not every spell has domain spells, or I don't know what the issue is, which is interesting. But that's okay. So you get 6th and 8th and 17th. So yeah, so the Blessed Healer. Beginning at 6th level, the healing spells you cast on others heal you as well. When you cast a spell of 1st level or higher that restores hit points to a creature other than you, you gain hit points equal to 2 plus the spell's level. So this is basically the Disciple of Life thing, where it gives whoever you're healing a little bit of extra HP. So this will do it, they'll gain a little bit of HP, and as long as you're not healing yourself, you'll also gain just a little bit of health. So you'll gain, you cast a 3rd level healing hands on your ally, they'll heal a pretty decent amount and you'll heal 5, which is nice to be able to heal, like yourself, you're actually getting healed, rather than only healing others. You can heal yourself indirectly, essentially, just because you're healing others. Not a whole lot, but any bit of healing can be good healing, especially if it's free. So, at 8th level, you gain the ability to infuse your weapon strikes with divine energy. Once on each of your turn, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can cause the attack to deal an extra 1d8 radiant damage. At 14th, it becomes 2d8. So, getting to do extra radiant damage, this one really makes you, a terror if you're fighting undeads and fiends, because 1d8 of extra damage is a fairly decent bit of extra damage that you can potentially stack upon, and it's free damage, and Radiant isn't too resisted, so basically at 14th level you'll be able to do 2d8 extra damage every turn, as long as you hit somebody with a melee attack. Do not forget that this is something with a weapon attack, so your spells won't get it, but, there's like an added little thing that you can get, which is nice. And your Capstone of the subclass, Supreme Healing. When you would normally roll 1 or more dice to restore hit points with a spell, you instead use the highest number possible for each die. For example, instead of restoring 2d6 hit points to a creature, you restore 12. This one is just extremely overpowered, because this is basically saying that if you, upcast something and it says, oh, you'll hear like Healing Hands or Healing Touch, you cast it all the way up to like, to have 5d8, 6d8, instead of just rolling all of these, and actually some pretty good healing of 37, which, to be fair, that's actually extremely high, and I'm surprised, but instead of getting 6d8, it is just 6 times 8, so that it would be just 48 healing for free on them, so you can just be the strongest healer because you get a little bit of extra healing from here, you get a little bit of extra healing to yourself from here, a little bit of extra radiant damage from here, and then you can you'll always heal maximum here. If you want to play the healer, then this one is extremely well, and because it's radiant damage, if you're in a campaign where there's stuff to deal with a lot of like undead or fiends and stuff that is weak to radiant damage, this one is extremely good because those are just, it's pretty common that you'd fight, undead and fiends and something else that might be weak to radiant, and it's not too often that you fight stuff that is resisting radiant damage, and then just healing more is extremely good. So definitely is something that I could see it being, higher up, easier to want to pick subclass, and there's nothing that's really negative towards what you're doing. It's just, you know, doing a bit more of what you can do, and getting to use heavy armor is pretty nice. So, next up we have the Light Domain. Right off the bat, you get a bonus cantrip. You get the Light cantrip if you don't already know it. So basically, once you choose this, you just get the Light cantrip for free, which is kind of cool. You get Warding Flare. You can interpose divine light between yourself and an attacking enemy. When you are attacked by a creature within 30 feet of you that you can see, you can use your reaction to impose disadvantage on the attack roll, causing light to flare before the attacker before it hits or misses. An attacker that can't be blinded is immune to this feature. You can use it equal to your Wisdom modifier. Get it back at a long rest. So this is just anytime a creature is attacking you within 30 feet, so it is not saying whenever they're making a melee attack, so as long as they have to make the attack roll against you, whether it's melee, it's ranged, it's a spell, if they are rolling to hit you, then you can impose disadvantage, and as long as they can be blinded, it'll work. So, especially early on, this is incredible to use. It is only for you though, it won't work on your allies or anything, but, you know, this is a for you type of thing, so it's alright. Your Channel Divinity at 2nd level will allow you to, you can use your Channel Divinity to harness sunlight, banishing darkness, and dealing radiant damage to your foes. As an action, you present your holy symbol, and any magical darkness within 30 feet of you is dispelled. That by itself is extremely powerful. You can just get rid of the darkness spell, and anything that might also cause magical darkness, which is really cool. Additionally, each hostile creature within 30 feet of you must make a Constitution saving throw. That is a pretty decent size thing of 30 feet of you, and it is each hostile creature, so it's only affecting hostile creatures, and it is each of them. It is not saying a limit, it is just any of them that are within this radius will take the damage. Well, as long as a creature takes radiant damage of 2d10 plus your clear level on a failed saving throw and half as much on a successful one. So, as long as they're not from total cover, meaning like they can't actively be hit by anything because there's just like a wall in the way or something, they'll be hit, and that makes this pretty strong, as this will always basically be able to hit stuff, because even on a success, it'll deal damage to them. And 2d10 radiant damage plus your cleric level, so this scales with you, it isn't your wisdom modifier. This will immediately be, 2d10 plus 2, and at max is 2d10 plus 20, which is a pretty decent amount to do radiant damage. So if you're, in a horde of undead or something, and you're surrounded by like 6, 7, 8 zombies or skeletons or other things that might be affected by radiant damage, you just hold up your holy symbol and you blast them for 2d10, 2d10, and then maybe your DM will tell you to roll more, or they'll just double the actual radiant damage. I personally double the damage, so if you do 2d10 and you roll it, and it'll basically be, well, just about the worst you could do, unfortunately, but that would be 23 radiant damage to anyone who failed, and 11 or 12 radiant damage to anyone who succeeded, which to a bunch of people that you hit, dealing 12 damage and 21 damage to a multitude of enemies, and not just one, is pretty effective, as you're weakening a lot of separate people, and anybody who is weak against it will be taking 23 or 46, which is a lot of damage to take from Radiant. So, definitely pretty good. At 6th level, you get Improved Flare. You can also use your Warding Flare feature when a creature that you can see within 30 feet of you attacks a creature other than you. So this part right here at 6th level allows you to use the Warding Flare that you get at 1st level to help your allies, to impose disadvantage on when your allies are being attacked. So now you get it, which means that this is just a little bit better, and it makes it actually pretty strong. And you get Potent Spellcasting, which allows you to add Wisdom, your Wisdom modifier, on Cleric cantrips. So a little bit of extra damage when you're using a cantrip, which is pretty cool. And at 17th level, your Capstone is Corona of Light. You can use your action to activate an aura of sunlight that lasts for 1 minute or until you dismiss it using another action. You emit bright light in a 60-foot radius and dim light 30 feet beyond that. Your enemies in the bright light have disadvantage on saving throws against any spells that deal fire or radiant damage. So this is actually really strong to be just like, this isn't a, using anything. This isn't a limited pool. This is just whenever you need it as an action, you automatically use it, and only enemies that are in it, so it's not going to count for your allies in this issue, but only enemies who are in the radius will have disadvantage on fire and radiant damage, which means that if you activate this, that 60-foot radius, which is huge by the way, and also note that that is a 60-foot radius. It is not saying that it is a 60-foot circle around you. It is a 120-foot circle. So that is a huge area to be bright light, and any enemy within that circle around you who is in the bright light will have disadvantage on saving throws against fire and radiant damage. Don't know if you guys know this, but there's some pretty strong high-level fire and radiant damage spells, or even lower ones, like maybe Fireball, perhaps. They have disadvantage against it. Meteor Swarm is fire damage related, so they'll have disadvantage on that. Anything that is radiant damage that would require a saving throw, disadvantage on that. So you just get a massive circle of light, and you also get a massive circle of imposing disadvantage on fire and radiant damage. It is extremely strong. So, you're building around it, or your team, maybe you say, oh, definitely going to use this because we're going to a dungeon that'll be dark a lot of the time, or we're fighting at night and now we need light. Maybe you're fighting vampires, so you just emit a bright light, which I would assume that because it says bright light to dim light, I'm guessing that counts as a full light, which means that certain creatures will have disadvantage while in full light. So you get that perk too, which makes it extremely strong in the right campaign. And it's actually extremely strong in a lot of campaigns, especially with the imposing disadvantage with Warding Flare and then Improved Flare, Radiance of Dawn, allowing you to get rid of magical darkness and deal a little bit of damage to enemies. Potent spellcasting is pretty cool, and then Corona of Light is extremely powerful, so definitely a pretty good choice if you're going to be playing in a dark campaign, or you want to have a bit more delight to situations rather than trying to focus on just pure death related things, trying to command and order things, trying to have fire related or healing. So it's definitely a pretty decent second choice there. Next up, we have the Nature Domain. Right off the bat, you get Acolyte of Nature, which allows you to choose a domain skill, which will be one of the Nature Domain skills, so Animal Handling, Nature Survival, choose whatever, and a spell, which is a cantrip, of course, so you can choose any of the cantrips that are spell related, so it'll just basically be nature related things, so, the elements, stuff to heal, elemental related things, anything like that. Of these, which ones are good? I can't really say. It all depends on how you want to play your character. Cantrips are a very changeable thing. Not you can change all the time, but it's how do you want to play your character? Do you want to play them with a bit more damage? Do you want to play with a bit more fixation abilities? Do you want fire related, ice related, electric related? If it's shocking grasp isn't on here, so it's fire, nature, earth, and this. If you want to have something for water, lots of things you can choose there. I'm just gonna boop that one. Old earth. Okay. You'll also get a bonus proficiency of being able to wear heavy armor, and your channel divinity is charm animals and plants at 2nd level. As an action, you present your holy symbol and invoke the name of your deity. Each beast or plant creature that can see you within 30 feet of you must make a wisdom saving throw. If the creature fails its saving throw, it is charmed by you for 1 minute or until it takes damage. While it is charmed by you, it is friendly to you and other creatures that you designate. So, getting to charm beast and plant creatures is pretty cool, because I mean, is this going to be the most useful out of all the other ones that we've seen? Probably not, but it'll definitely have more uses than you'd think, because it is anything that is considered to be beast or plant when looking at it. So if you're being attacked by a giant, a giant hawk starts attacking you, I think technically a rock counts. It's a giant bird, by the way, not an actual rock, or Dwayne the Rock Johnson. It is an actual, although that guy is a beast, it is an actual giant bird called a rock. That, I'd have to look at it, but that might count as a beast, which means that it would have to it could be charmed by you for 1 minute, which means that potentially you can charm a rock and then have your team fly on it for 59 seconds and then get off of it before it realizes anything else, and then you're pretty safe. Or you can tell them to go away from you for whatever reason. So yeah, it's actually fairly useful. Not gonna have as much use as some of the other ones, but definitely some better, more unique uses that if you can think of, they'll probably be able to do it. At 6th level, you'll get Dampened Elements. When you or a creature within 30 feet of you takes acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage, elemental damages, you can use your reaction to grant resistance to the creature against that instance of the damage. So it's basically just saying that any nature-based damage, any of the elements that would damage you, other than poison, but I don't think poison is technically an element, you'll half the damage, which is pretty cool that you can just say, yeah, I don't want to be taking that full, I failed my save on the fireball. Well, don't worry, I'm still going to resist I'm still going to half the damage, so I won't take the, however many, what is going to be like, yeah, cast it for 10d6, let's say, right? You throw it on out, and oh, you failed your saving throw. Well, instead of taking 35, you're taking 17, which is pretty good. So, yeah. And any other things that are related to those elemental damages that it said. And at 8th level, you get Divine Strike. You gain the ability to infuse your weapon strike with divine energy. Once on each of your turns, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can cause the attack roll to deal an extra 1d8 cold, fire, or lightning damage, your choice, to the target. When you reach 14, it becomes 2d8. This is extremely powerful, the fact that you get 3 choices and they don't nerf the damage. Because this means that instead of it always being fire damage, always being radiant damage, always being psychic damage, if you need to fight a fire thing and they are weak to cold, you can hit them with cold. If they are weak to fire, you can hit them with fire. If they are weak to lightning, you can hit them with lightning. If you know that they are resistant to fire, then you can choose to hit them with cold or lightning instead. So you can always choose whichever one is most advantageous at the time, instead of being set to a specific one. So you can always make sure that you're hitting the best that you can, which is actually pretty good. And at 17th level, you get Master of Nature. You gain the ability to command animals and plant creatures. While creatures are charmed by your Charm Animals and Plants feature, you can take a bonus action on your turn to verbally command what each of those creatures will do on its next turn. Which, of course, that does mean that if they take damage, at some point they'll be snapped out of it, but it also doesn't say that you can't make them, protect you or cause ill will against themselves. A lot of times when you charm something, it'll say, yes, they're charmed by you, but they won't do anything that would, they wouldn't naturally do. It is, if I want them to flee, if I want them to jump off of something, which might end up killing them, they have to do it, because there's nothing saying that they can resist it. So if they are charmed by you, you can potentially make that enemy, wog or something kill itself potentially, which sounds horrible, yeah, but if you take control of an enemy who, like a flying creature that an enemy is flying on, you can make them just dive bomb, damaging both the flying creature and the rider pretty decently, I would say. So some pretty good uses here, and it'll also allow you to, be able to fly easier with, while on something. It'll be, allow you to be protected sometimes. It'll be easier to make things flee because you can force them to do something on your bonus action. So if you're playing in something that is rather nature-based, then this one is extremely powerful. But of course, if you're playing in a dungeon, where there isn't going to be a lot of plants and animals, then it's whatever. But if you are playing in a campaign where a lot of plants and animals might be involved, then yeah, nature is definitely something that you should select. So yeah, it's not half bad, and its ability of Divine Strike and Dampened Elements are very powerful ones compared to what some of the others have gotten. Next up is the Peace Domain, which actually does get domain spells. These spells you'll get is at first you'll get Heroism and Sanctuary, some pretty decent ones. Third you'll get Aid and Warding Bond. Fifth is Beacon of Hope and Sending. Seventh is Aura of Purity and Odaluk's Resilient Sphere. And ninth you get Greater Restoration and Aurori's Telepathic Bond. Some very notable ones is Heroism for free. Aid is pretty good, and Warding Bond is pretty good for free. Sanctuary is actually really good for free. Beacon of Hope can be pretty good. Sending is alright, but it's free, so why not? Aura of Purity. Odaluk Resilient Sphere is actually very strong if you know how to use it properly. For free, you get Greater Restoration. You probably would have taken that anyways, but now you get it for free all the time. And Rory's Telepathic Bond is Rory's Telepathic Bond. You know, it's okay. And then you'll also get you get something from the Peace Domain skills, which will be insight to see if somebody is trying not to do something to try to persuade people for peace, trying to perform to make somebody more peaceable. And also at first level, you get Emboldening Bond. You can forge any empowering bond among people who are at peace with one another. As an action, you choose a number of willing creatures within 30 feet of you. This can include yourself, equal to your proficiency bonus. So it'll be 2 to 6, I think, at max level. You create a magical bond amongst them for 10 minutes or until you use this feature again. While any bonded creature is within 30 feet of another, the creature can roll a d4 and add the number rolled to an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw it makes. Each creature can add the d4 no more than once per turn. You can use this number in number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you get it back in a long rest. So this is basically getting to have a couple of people that you can give it to once a turn use of Bless. So you can basically give people Bless before the fights start, or you can use this before the fight starts, and then also give people Bless, which means that you can essentially target a whole bunch of people with the Bless spell, which is giving a d4 to anything that is a d20 essentially. So yeah, it's pretty strong. It's like a little bit weaker version of Bless, but it's still basically a for free ability that allows you to give people a d4 on top of something, which anytime that you can add any type of number to something is pretty strong. So as a first level thing, that's actually really good. Your channel divinity at second level is Balm of Peace. You can use your channel divinity to make your very presence a soothing balm. As an action, you can move up to your speed without provoking opportunity attacks, and when you move within 5 feet of any other creature during this action, you can restore a number of hit points to that creature equal to 2d6 plus your wisdom modifier. Minimum of 1 HP. A creature can receive this healing only once whenever you take this action. So this will basically, if your team needs to be healed, you can just cast this and start walking around your team, and you can start healing them for the use of one of your channel divinities. And it's 2d6 plus your wisdom modifier, so at the time it would be 2d6 plus 4, essentially, which is some pretty decent early on. Like, later on, will this be, are you going to be using this to heal later on? No, but you'll probably use this to not provoke opportunity attacks. So if you get surrounded, you can just activate this and then get away from the enemies, while potentially healing your allies. So, yeah, it's actually pretty good, I would say. And, anytime that you can heal multiple people essentially for free, it is a one-action thing of Channel Divinity, which is a limited use ability, but it also is just actually extremely strong. So, why not? Right off the bat, you'll have 1 use, and then at 6th level you get 2, at 18th level you get 3, and you get it back at a short rest. So why not be able to just kind of go around and heal? Potentially, if you really wanted to, outside of combat, you can activate this, heal your team, activate it again, heal them, another round of it, and then take a short rest. So you would have used them, and then you would have gotten them back because you just took a short rest. So you can be healing your team a pretty decent bit, in all honesty. As long as you're smart with it, of course. At 6th level, you get Protective Bond. The bond you forge between people helps them protect each other. When a creature affected by your Emboldening Bond feature is about to take damage, a second bonded creature within 30 feet of the first can use its reaction to teleport to an unoccupied space within 5 feet of the first creature. The second creature then takes all the damage instead. So you can potentially use this ability to say, okay, here, give it to my fighter, here, give it to my barbarian, and then they can basically be protectors and attackers. They protect, they attack, but most importantly, they can teleport to unoccupied space within 5 feet of the first creature and take all the damage instead. So that's extremely good, because this will just be able to throw them around. This will allow them to potentially protect squishy. I mean, it wouldn't be on the fighter and the barbarian, but you can have it on the fighter, barbarian, and then give it to a squishy person at 6th level, because I believe that you become a 3 proficiency bonus. So you can put it on a squishy, like a wizard or a sorcerer, or even yourself if you like, and then you can give it to people who don't mind taking damage and can tank pretty well. And then it can basically be, I use my reaction to teleport, take the damage so my ally doesn't, and then that also means that they just teleported right next to to an enemy, meaning that they can just instantly attack them without having to move or anything like that. So yeah, that's actually pretty funny and actually really strong. You get Potent Spellcasting, which is your Wisdom modifier on cantrips, and you get Expansive Bond. The benefits of your Emboldening Bond and Protective Bond features now work when the creatures are within 60 feet of each other. Moreover, when a creature uses Protective Bond to take someone else's damage, the creature has resistance to that damage. So, even on non-fighters, or on non-barbarians when they're raging, this can protect them even more. Also, this is something like the bond thing, Emboldening Bond, can be used outside of combat as well because it's ability checks. So, it's an in-combat thing and an out-of-combat thing. And now in combat, when you use Protective Bond to take the damage from your wizard who's about to get hit by something that might deal they get hit by something that's going to deal 40 odd damage, well, now you don't have to worry because I just teleported over there and took half of that for you, and the barbarian who's raging would take a quarter of that. So instead of 40 damage, a person would take 20. Instead of 40 damage, a raging barbarian might half that all the way down to, or quarter that all the way down to 10. So this is a very protective, wanting peace, a very protective, defensive one, especially in the domain spells for heroism and sanctuary, for warding bond and aid. Like what this class is trying for, and it doesn't exist here, but let's pretend that it does. The peace domain, I would definitely put the peace domain either the top of great or just a little bit behind grave. Like grave is by far 100%. So this one would be, just a little bit behind it, but not too far behind it. So definitely a pretty strong one. So if you want to focus on kind of more almost defensive aspects and helpful aspect, like aiding support aspects, the peace domain is definitely the one for you. Next up, we have the Tempest Domain. Right off the bat, you get bonus proficiency of martial weapons and heavy armor, so kind of something that wants you to be maybe a bit more of helping with attacking people without using spells, as it gives you martial weapons, and heavy armor, so you can be a bit more defensive as well. At first level, you also get Wrath of the Storm. You can thunderously rebuke attackers. When a creature within 5 feet of you that you can see hits you with an attack, you can use your reaction to cause the creature to make a dexterity saving throw. The creature takes 2d8 lightning or thunder damage, your choice, on a failed saving throw and half as much on a successful one. You can use it in a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, getting back at a long rest. So this is basically Hellish Rebuke that stuff like the Tiefling gets, and Warlocks, and maybe a couple of other classes or other ways that you can get Hellish Rebuke, which is basically you take damage, and as a result of you getting damaged, you can damage back, and this one allows you to do lightning or thunder damage. So if they're weak to lightning or thunder damage, you can get the double. If they're resistant to lightning, then choose thunder. Resistant to thunder, choose lightning. So a pretty strong one, and it's also something that will always damage. So it isn't a they fail to take damage. If they succeed, they don't take damage. They'll always be taking damage, which those types of spells are always extremely strong. And this is just not even a spell. This is just I got hit, no spell slots required. You're getting hit for some damage. So, pretty cool. And your second level thing of your divinity is Destructive Wrath. You can use your channel divinity to wield the power of the storm with unchecked ferocity. When you roll lightning or thunder damage, you can choose your channel divinity to deal maximum damage instead of rolling. So this is basically just saying that, hey, I want to hit somebody with chain lightning. Well, that means that every single person who's being hit by chain lightning, taking that lightning damage, is taking as much damage as it can possibly damage them for. So you probably want to focus on a couple of, you want to have obviously some variety, but focusing on lightning and thunder damage will definitely benefit you with this subclass. So, and thunder damage and lightning damage are actually fairly unresisted, especially thunder damage. Lightning damage might have a little bit more resistance, but thunder damage isn't exactly, fire damage when it comes to resistances. So, being able to basically just max out the damage on these, yeah, that's pretty cool, I gotta say. And a lot of the time, lightning and thunder damage attacks, they'll actually be able to hit multiple multiple enemies with it. It's not just like, oh, I use it and all I can do is, one target, like some things are. No, this one you can hit a whole bunch of. And also, technically, because this is after you hit, because it is when you're rolling the damage, which means that you know that you hit or that they failed. Potentially, if you roll a d20, that means that you could say, I rolled a d20, I'm going to use Channel Divinity Destructive Wrath to make it to where I'm rolling the highest die possible, which means that those die are the max number and is being doubled. So you're going to be hitting like a truck because of it. At 6th level, you get Thunderbolt Strike. When you deal lightning damage to a larger, smaller creature, you can push it up to 10 feet away from you. This is just kind of cool. Just a little bit of a extra thing when it's to do with lightning damage. If it was lightning and thunder, that'd be cool, but just being lightning damage is perfectly fine. And this is also just a free ability, so you can just do lightning damage and then they just get pushed back, which means that when you use Wrath of the Storm, they can hit you, and then as a reaction, you hit them with the lightning damage, and then also, because you just hit them with lightning damage, you can push them 10 feet away, which might have just made it to where they couldn't attack you again, because they might have used all their movement to get to you. So, it's actually pretty cool. And then at 8th level, you get Divine Strike, which will be 1d8 thunder damage on one weapon attack every round. And then 14th level, it becomes 2d8, which also means that if maybe you're out of spell slots or you don't have any like lightning or thunder damage at the time, or you want to just guarantee because the enemy might be really close to death, this is thunder damage, which means that you can use Destructive Wrath to guarantee that you just get 8 extra damage for free. So potentially, if you know that the enemy is super close to death, you can hit them, use the thunder damage, guarantee that it's the highest damage, and then cleave right through them. So, yeah, it's pretty strong, I will admit. And at 17th level, the capstone of this subclass is Stormborn. You have a flying speed equal to your current walking speed whenever you are not underground or indoors. So you can just fly at 17th level. So, for a 17th level ability, just being able to fly is extremely good. Because, now this also makes it to where it's harder to hit you for some enemies, so you can just go, oh, we're combat outdoors? Well, let me just start flying away. Oh, and then let me just throw lightning at you from up here. It also does not say, at 17th level, you can, as an action, you can have a flying speed. No, you can just fly as long as you're outdoors. This was the Tempest one, correct? Yep, Tempest. So it does exist here. Definitely A tier. It is, focusing on lightning and thunder, but a lot of the other ones are focusing on one thing in particular. So the ability to deal lightning and thunder damage is good. Being able to, as a reaction, deal lightning and thunder damage to an enemy who hits you with melee is pretty good. Being able to maximize the damage you do on lightning and thunder damage, good. Being able to push people back with lightning, good. Being able to do thunder damage on your attacks because you can potentially max it out and do more with it, good. Being able to fly, do I need to say the word? Good. It's powerful. So, yeah. Next up is the Trickery Domain. You get Blessing of the Trickster at first level. Starting when you choose this domain at first level, you can use your action to touch a willing creature other than yourself to give it advantage on dexterity stealth checks. This blessing lasts for 1 hour until you use this feature again. There's also not a limited amount of times you can use this in a day, so anytime, you can go up to your ally, maybe your fighter, who has disadvantage on stealth checks because they're, very clanky and stuff with their heavy armor. So you can impose advantage to get rid of their disadvantage to be a neutral roll. If you're sending somebody ahead, like if your rogue says, "Hey, I'll stealth ahead," to make sure there's nothing up ahead, you can just give them advantage so that they roll like a billion because rogues. And this is useful at first level. This is useful at 20th level. This can be useful in combat. This is very useful outside of combat. But potentially, because this is for free, you could just give this to your rogue or ranger. Maybe your ranger is multiclassing as rogue even better. You give this to one of them, which means that every time they're making a stealth check, maybe as their bonus action, because they can, we'll get to that when we get to the rogue, they can use their bonus action to hide. So they attack somebody, then they hide, and then they aren't seen because they hit so well because they had advantage on their stealth check. So the next turn that comes around, they can have advantage because they were hidden last turn. Pretty cool. Channel Divinity at second level. Invoke Duplicity. You can use your Channel Divinity to create an illusory duplicate of yourself. As an action, you create a perfect illusion of yourself that lasts for 1 minute or until you lose your concentration, as if you were concentrating on a spell, but you are not concentrate. Like, you can do this and concentrate on a spell. They're not like one or the other. This is a separate entity from the other. The illusion appears in an unoccupied space that you can see within 30 feet of you. As a bonus action on your turn, you can move the illusion up to 30 feet to a space you can see, but it must remain 120 feet of you. So this by itself is actually kind of cool, because getting to use illusory techniques is always a fairly useful thing. Would this by itself be like something that you'd want to be using as a channel divinity? Yeah, not as often as you might think, but it's definitely useful outside of combat. But don't also forget that for the duration, you can cast spells as though you were in the illusion space, but you must use your own senses. Additionally, when both you and your illusion are within 5 feet of a creature that can see the illusion, you have advantage on attack rolls against that creature, given how distracting the illusion is to the target. So this is basically giving you extra range. So you can be standing, on block 1, your illusion is on block 25. That means that through them, as long as you can see the enemy, through them, you can cast a spell on an enemy who is at square 55, because that spell has a range of 30, so you can push them forward, and then cast the spell, and then you can move to somewhere else. And while you're within 5 feet of somebody, if you do have a weapon that you're going to attack somebody with, you'll have advantage on it, as if you were being like kind of roguelike. So this, if you want to multi-class as like a rogue, like you only have to be level 2 cleric for this. You could be a pretty high level rogue to have a lot of, a pretty decent stealth attack amount of dice, and then you can basically just go, oh, I invoke duplicity. For 1 minute, you can basically always give yourself advantage, so that you can basically run up to the enemy, bonus action to have your illusion run up to the enemy, and then attack them. Or if you don't want to be constantly running up to the enemy, you can from a distance. No, both of you have to be within a creature. Wait, yeah, you and your illusion, so you couldn't do range attacks, but you could just run up and always give yourself advantage, always allowing you to do always allowing you to do stealth attack, sneak attack damage. So yeah, it's actually a pretty good thing. I mean, I'm not looking at this as if you were multiclassing. This is if you're a level 20 cleric. So it's cleric by themselves, not multiclassing, but it definitely does. I mean, the other ones, looking at it with a multiclass will definitely have a higher benefit, but it's also a fairly good thing by itself, I will admit. At 6th level, you get another Channel Divinity, Cloak of Shadows. As an action, you become invisible until the end of your next turn. You become visible if you attack or cast a spell. So it's basically as if you just cast the invisibility spell on yourself, but it doesn't cost a spell slot. Instead, it costs a Channel Divinity slot, which is alright. If you were allowed to use it on allies, that would also be pretty cool, but because it's just yourself and it's until the end of your next turn and not for the full length that the invisibility spell can be, it's not bad. As a 6th level thing, it's all right. Divine Strike, you gain the ability to infuse your weapon strikes with poison, a gift from your deity. Once on each of your turns, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can cause the attack to deal an extra 1d8 poison. At 14th level, it becomes an extra 2d8. Yeah, it's pretty cool getting to do poison. Poison is, I believe, the second most resisted damage type in the game, so it's alright, but still, anytime you get to deal extra damage to an enemy, for free essentially, is pretty good, so not bad. And the capstone of this ability, Improved Duplicity. You can create up to 4 duplicates of yourself instead of 1 when you use Invoke Duplicity. As a bonus action on your turn, you can move any number of them up to 30 feet to a maximum range of 120 feet. So this is incredible, especially if you do this outside of combat and then get into combat, or if you hide yourself and then create all of them. That means that the enemy has to discern that they're a duplicate when they attack, like they attack it, and then they might have to discern that it was an illusion or something instead of you. So it's this very advantageous thing, and there are 4 of them, making the fact that you can have 5 of you on the field, which also means that you can have 5 areas that you can be casting spells through. Like 4 different areas that you can be casting spells through, so it can really, really improve upon your range and your actual effectiveness in combat. And you can potentially have them all harrying foes, so depending on who you want to go after, you can just chase after someone and then run up to them and have advantage because, well, one of your duplicates was there already. So for what this subclass is, which is all supposed to be about trickery and illusions and kind of confusion and misdirection, it's actually pretty strong. I still put the Death Domain above it just because Death Domain has more of the attacking feel and not a lot of just the really niche specific areas that it can have. And I personally just like the Death Domain because I've played it a little bit more than I've played the Trickery Domain, but I do know that the Trickery Domain can be very strong in all honesty. And to be fair, I'm going to put this down to true neutral at this point because, yeah, if you guys saw last week's video, then you'll understand why I'm putting it down when you find out just what it does. Sorry to anybody who loves the knowledge domain. It's not bad. It's still pretty good, and it can be really good in certain campaigns, but niche situations for a niche subclass. But as the next one we'll go over is the Twilight Domain. You get domain spells, yay! At 1st level, you get Fairy Fire, very strong, and Sleep, very strong. 3rd level gives you Moonbeam and Sea Invisibility. 5th is Aura Vitality and Leomon's Tiny Hut. 7th level is Aura of Life and Greater Invisibility. And 9th level is Circle of Power and Mislead. So some actually fairly good ones, especially Fairy Fire for free, Moonbeam for free, Greater Invisibility for free. And remember, when I say free, I don't mean that it doesn't cost you anything. I just mean that it doesn't cost you one of your prepared spell slots. You'll just always know them, so it doesn't count against anything. You get bonus proficiencies at 1st level of martial weapons and heavy armor, so some pretty good stuff, something that can kind of help you with melee-related things. So at 1st level, you get Eyes of Night. You can see through the deepest gloom. You have dark vision out to a range of 300 feet. In that radius, you can see in dim light as if it were a bright light, and in darkness as if it were a dim light. As an action, you can magically share the dark vision of this feature with willing creatures. You can see within 10 feet of you up to a number of creatures equal to your wisdom modifier, minimum of 1. The shared dark vision lasts for 1 hour. Once you share it, you can't do so until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a spell slot of any level to share it again. So this is something that can be actually really strong if you don't have, because you just have dark vision. So this would probably be, the thing that you would love to have if you were like a human or something else that doesn't get dark vision naturally. So you can just have dark vision of 300 feet, which is far more. I mean, this is helpful for anybody who has dark vision anyways, because most dark vision is like 30 to 60 feet. This is 300 feet, which is a really big area, and then you get dim light vision essentially as well. So it's actually some pretty strong thing. But of course, remember that dark vision does not let you see magical darkness. The only way that you can see within magical darkness is if you have Devil's Sight, which is a eldritch ability that comes from the warlock. But still, this is actually a really strong thing, and you can give this to your allies to make them a little bit better too for 1 hour. So, not bad. Also, at first level, you get Vigilant Blessing. The knight has taught you to be vigilant. As an action, you give one creature you touch, including possibly yourself, advantage on the next initiative roll the creature makes. The benefit ends immediately after the roll, or if you use this feature again. So technically, you can give this at the start of the day, and it is on them until either you use it again or until they roll for initiative. It does not end if you go to bed. So potentially, you can use this feature, no combat the first day, there's a combat the second day. You didn't have to use it the second day because they already rolled for initiative. So, yeah, it actually is still a pretty decent thing. There's no limit to how often you can use this in a day, so if you want to just, if you're getting into like little like one-on-one fights that are happening within a certain time frame, and it's not all out war 5v5, it's just a bunch of separate 1v1s, you can literally give every single person on your side advantage on the initiative roll to potentially let them go first. So, pretty strong. Your second level ability of Channel Divinity is Twilight Sanctuary. As an action, you present your holy symbol and a sphere of twilight emanates from you. The sphere is centered on you, has a 30-foot radius, and is filled with dim light. The sphere moves with you and it lasts for 1 minute or until you are incapacitated or die. Whenever a creature, including you, ends its turn in the sphere, you can grant that creature one of these benefits. Either you can grant it temporary hit points equal to 1d6 plus your cleric level. So right off the bat, it is 1d6 plus 2. By the end, it is 1d6 plus 20, which even at later levels, getting 21 to 26 temporary hit points just for being within a bubble is pretty good. Or you can end one effect on it, causing it to be charmed or frightened. So potentially, you can use this before a fight to allow for all creatures for everybody to gain their temporary hit points, or if you know that you're going to be fighting something that might be able to charm or frighten you and your team, you can activate this and then basically kind of hover around your team to constantly be allowing them at the end of their turn to end the charmed or frightened condition, which, yeah, it's actually kind of cool and fairly strong, I would say. Your 6th level ability is Steps of the Night. You can draw on the mystical power of night to rise into the air. As a bonus action, when you are in dim light or darkness, you can magically give yourself a flying speed equal to your walking speed for 1 minute. You can use this bonus action a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you get them all back at a long rest. So basically at 6th level, as long as it's dim or dark, you can let yourself fly as a bonus action, which means that you can still, as an actual action, attack. So you can just start flying around while it is dark out and attacking people as a terrifying creature flying around in the night. So definitely a very spooky vibe there, and actually pretty strong because anytime you can have flight, even if it's something kind of limited like only being in dim light or darkness, or 1 minute long type of thing, it's still pretty strong to be able to use, honestly, because flight is just great. Uh, At 8th level, you get Divine Strike, which will allow you to infuse your weapon strike with divine energy. Once on each of your turns, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can cause the attack to deal an extra 1d8 radiant damage. At 14th level, it becomes 2d8 radiant damage. As I said on Life, and I think Light, radiant damage is pretty strong, I gotta say. So, not half bad. And as the capstone of this little subclass, at 17th level, you get Twilight Shroud. The Twilight that you summon offers a protective embrace. You and your allies have half cover while in the sphere created by your Twilight Sanctuary. As a capstone, could this be a little bit better? Maybe. But to be honest, just the fact that you can just create a bubble that's pretty decent in size, and then as long as your team is within it, you have half cover. Yeah, that's actually really cool. And it's not saying that the enemies will be getting half cover, or if the enemy is in the bubble as well, that that it negates the half cover that your allies are having. No, they just always have half cover because of this. So it's actually pretty good. I'll go over what like the cover stuff is and how all that works at another point. But to be fair, if this one did exist, probably somewhere here on the A tier area. You can definitely move these around depending on what you guys' opinion on. I would say that this is probably equal to Light. I wouldn't say that it's better than Light because they're basically like an opposite feel of each other. This one has stuff to do with like the darkness and dim light. This guy right here has stuff to do with the light, obviously. And lastly, we'll go over the War Domain. So, the War Domain. The last of the subclasses for the Cleric. You get bonus proficiencies of martial weapons and heavy armor. You become a war priest at first level. Your god delivers bolts of inspiration to you while you are engaged in battle. When you use the attack action, you can make one weapon attack as a bonus action. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier. So this is kind of helping you if you want to be, if you don't want to be wasting all of your spell slots. You can be running in and really laying people out, as you'll be able to attack, and then you'll be able to attack again as a bonus action. So if you have nothing to do with your bonus action, you can attack now. So yeah, it's pretty good, I gotta say. Your second level, your Channel Divinity is Guided Strike. Starting at second level, you can use your Channel Divinity to strike with supernatural accuracy. When you make an attack roll, you can choose your Channel Divinity to gain a +10 bonus to the roll. You make this choice after you see the roll, but before you know whether it hits or misses. So this is basically just saying, oh no, I rolled kind of low. My god wants me to hit. So you hit because it's a +10. It's going to be kind of unrealistic that you missed with a +10. And not that it really is going to be counting because we're just looking at the cleric itself and not multiclassing. But if you want to choose, to be a level 2 cleric and like a barbarian or a fighter, you can potentially then take, or even a ranger or something, you can then use sharpshooter or greater weapon master, which will cause you to lose on your attack. It'll give you a -5 to hit. Well, you can do that and then just hit anyways once, of course, because you only get this once per day or per short rest. But still, you get one time where you just get a +10 to the attack to attack, not the damage, just to hit. But it is pretty strong and not half bad, and it definitely is a powerful ability to have. At 6th level, you get War God's Blessing, which is that when a creature is within 30 feet of you makes an attack roll, you can use your reaction to grant that creature a +10 bonus to the roll using your Channel Divinity. Same thing as Guided Strike, but you can do this for your allies. So if your ally is attacking and they, in this instance, you're the cleric and your barbarian just did Greater Weapon Master, so now they're, they hit the first time, they hit the second time, they miss the third time, or they're going to miss because it's like a 14 and the enemy has an AC of higher than that, well then you can just allow them to hit. And then they hit. So they can basically just start wailing on people. So maybe if you're also for wizards and other spellcasters, if they used a high level spell that has them do an attack roll and they missed the enemy because they just rolled poorly, well, you can just give them a +10 so that Disintegrate spell hits a bit easier. So, not bad. You get Divine Strike, which will allow you to deal 1d8 of the same type dealt by the weapon to the target. So this is basically just saying that once per turn you'll roll a d8 on top of the 2d6, let's say, that you're rolling of bludgeoning damage, because I don't know what you're using, but it's basically just saying that you roll the 2d6s of bludgeoning damage plus 8, or plus a d8 of bludgeoning damage on top of that. So it's actually pretty helpful. So, not half bad. And then at 17th level, you become an Avatar of Battle. You regain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical weapons. So, as a capstone, a little meh. I mean, is it good that you get him? Yeah. Is there better things you could have gotten? Yeah. I mean, there's nothing like bad to say about it. There's nothing spectacular about it. It is a fairly average thing, but to be honest, the main thing that you're looking at in this is your level 2 and level 6 abilities of getting to call upon the war. You're basically saying, I want my attack to hit, or I want my ally to hit, and you just give them a plus 10. And you can know after the roll, so you don't have to call it out before, oh, and then you rolled natural 20, so it's like, oh, cool, I got a plus 10 on top of my massive number that's guaranteed to hit because it's a natural 20. But no, you can go, oh, I know my ally just rolled a 16. Well, I know that from this whole battle that the enemy has an AC of 20 or something. Well, you can just give them a little bit of extra, a little bit of extra here and there so that they're guaranteed to hit or that you're guaranteed to hit. So, but yeah, this is gonna wrap up the Cleric subclasses, and then hopefully tomorrow I will be able to do the Cleric overview. This is my opinion, so if you differ from it, then that's perfectly fine by me. You can differ. I'm not gonna tell you that these are, set in stone. Anybody who disagrees with me is dumb. No, to be honest, you could probably make a lot of points for things to be in A tier, some things to be even lower, things to be higher, things to be shuffled around. Maybe you 100% agree with me because you're actually just me. But who knows? But yeah, I do rate the Grave Cleric the best. I'm not saying that the Knowledge Cleric is technically the worst, but it's just the fact that it is so niche. Like, it is a... if you can't use it, like, it's either you can use its abilities constantly or you can never use its abilities. Like, yeah, there might be a time when it's like, yeah, I can use it every once in a while, but if you're having a thing that's you can use it every once in a while, that's not a good enough subclass. But it also isn't taking anything away from the cleric, and it can be spectacular in the right campaign. So I can't really put this to like not nice or trash, and I wouldn't. But I also can't really say that I could recommend this class constantly or on a regular enough basis. So that is why it is true neutral, right there next to the Bard of Whispers. So, but yeah, if you guys did enjoy this video, then consider hitting the like button and commenting down below what you guys did enjoy so I can continue doing it to continue making the videos as well as I have been. Also, comment below if, what your guys' opinion on my tier list of everything and what your tier list for the cleric would have been. And also comment down below if you guys didn't like the video, what I could do better so I can improve upon it and do better for the next videos. And then, of course, if you'd like, you can hit the dislike button if you didn't like it. If you guys want to know when I upload, then the best way to know is by subscribing. But that does it for this video. Until next time, bye guys.